appear righteous to others, but within you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. You build the tombs of the prophets and decorate the monuments of the righteous, saying, if we had lived in the days of our fathers, we would not have taken part with them in shedding the blood of the prophets. But in your actions, you now and will reveal that you are sons of those who murdered the prophets. You serpents, you brood of vipers.
And these are people who have broken people down to their core, left them feeling like they're not enough, left them feeling that they were worthless people, left them not knowing who they were anymore, left them doubting reality. Is that forgivable? I'm not so sure. And so I will always tell everyone I work with, this is a personal decision. It is not right to forgive. It is not right to not forgive. It is not wrong to forgive. It is not wrong to not forgive. You have to do what makes you whole. Resentment does not push forward healing. I think that it's one more place where people are forced to be inauthentic. Some people will say, and I'll be frank with you, Louis, I can think of a half a dozen people, narcissistic people in my life. I am now no contact with, some I still have contact with. I don't forgive them. I will never forgive them.
Really?
Never.
Even if you never speak to them again?
I don't speak to them again. I will never forgive them. What they did to me, because what it changed my view on myself. I spent years crawling out from under that rubble. I still doubt myself. I still don't feel safe in the world. They took away my safety. How the hell do you forgive that? I don't. And I sleep fine at night.
The thing would be, how do we find peace even if we don't forgive someone?
I think that people who don't forgive definitely feel peace.
Okay.
I think people who don't feel peace are the people who forgive and keep getting harmed.
Oh, that's
are the
true.
people who forgive and weren't ready to forgive. Individuating, becoming autonomous, and ultimately rising into your authentic self. That's what it is. And your authentic self may not forgive, and that's okay.
Wow. If you don't forgive, do you feel like you can truly heal?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Because not forgiving is an acknowledgement. I actually think the worst part is that this is somebody who left you feeling not enough, like there was something wrong with you when you were bringing the best of yourself forward. I have a problem with that. And I tell folks, some people get there. Some people will say, I was not able to forgive until I went no contact.
Yeah. You had a lot of time to heal and space.
And not be harmed by it. They said, some people say I forgave after they died. So they didn't hear it. But I think that we have this big pressure of forgive and everything.
You don't
will
have to
be fine.
forgive them, like say it to them, but more to yourself.
Internally.
Say, yeah.
Right. But I in the cases I'm talking about, these people, I don't forgive.
Wow.
I really, really don't. It was wrong. It was wrong. And I know they keep doing wrong. And it harms me because it changed my insides.
Right.
And while I can take responsibility for my insides, why that wasn't okay. And I'm very, very clear on this. People, you can't forgive that. I said, if they can't forgive that, then they can't forgive that. Accept that, and these are not petty people. They really aren't. And they're not, and the criticism I've heard people get when they say they don't forgive is like, you're petty. You're the one with all the anger. You're the one with all the hate in your heart. I'm like, no, they're not. No, they're not. That it's a very personal decision. But I think because we view it as a one size fits all. And I think that then what happens is people can then allow their process. I think healing is easier when you don't have to forgive, because forgiveness is about the other person. Everyone's like, no, forgiveness is about yourself. No, it's not. Because you know what a narcissistic person does with forgiveness? Or like,
get back in there.
Get out of jail free card. I guess I could do this again.
Nothing I did was wrong. Yeah.
Or nothing I did was wrong. Because forgiveness works, Louis, beautifully. I'm sure you've been forgiven at times in your life. I've been forgiven at times in my life, and I've forgiven many people. And when that forgiveness was met by that person forever committing to a change,
A behavioral change.
then it's the most beautiful human process, because we recognize that we're all flawed.
Yes.
But it has to be met with a change. Imagine you forgive someone, right? It's accountability. You forgive someone for cheating on you, and they cheat on you again. How do you think that feels for a person? It's worse than betrayal, because it's betrayal in the face of this divine offering you gave. Like, I forgave you.
And then you did it again.
And you did this after you promised you wouldn't. So it's like, it's a multiplied betrayal.
There's your sisters, it doesn't matter. You're constantly running from a situation that you're not able to get away from because you haven't gotten away from it. Perhaps you haven't quite accepted that you need to look at the abusive people in your life as a grizzly bear. Not because they're that tough in life, but because we're in the age of division. And you're not meant to be in that toxic relationship anymore. And your body is trying to let you know. Let's talk now about what happens as a result. Based on some online articles here, hormonal changes. The hormonal changes, the irregularity that we talked about, include the release of a corticotrophin, I hope I said that right, releasing factor, CRF. This leads to changes in gut bacteria. So number one, we're talking about gut bacteria, changes in your gut and your digestive area, right? And the immune system, both of which contribute to IBS, not only IBS as an issue, but anytime you mess with the gut bacteria, your digestive issues, well, now all of a sudden you're not processing nutrients the right way. And it starts to develop a whole host of issues, skin disorders, inflammation, the inability to absorb nutrients, all of this, all because of your constant fight or flight because you're in a toxic relationship. That's number one. Here's another one. Emotional stressors can lead to ventricular ectopic beats and ventricular tachycardia. This is heart related. Through disturbances of cardiac rhythm due to emotional stress. Emotional stress is caused by narcissistic abuse. This suggests that POTS patients may have elevated anxiety compared to healthy controls. I never heard of tachycardia until I started coaching people with the Royal We about 5 years ago. Through various phone calls with people, I started hearing stories, people being diagnosed with things like POTS syndrome, tachycardia, having heart issues. What's the common denominator with all these people I've dealt with? They're all in abusive relationships with narcissistically abusive people. They're in toxic, dysfunctional relationships with their own family members. That's the common denominator here. That's the heart. So far we've talked about digestive issues caused by narcissistic abuse, heart issues caused by narcissistic abuse. Watch this. Psychological stress is reported to be a risk factor for autoimmune diseases. First of all, what's psychological stress? Going out and working with your hands, doing your day job, that's not psychological stress. Society isn't psychological stress. Well, nowadays it can be. Psychological stress is through manipulation, gaslighting, betrayal through the people who say they love you, cognitive dissonance from those closest to you. This is psychological stress. Watch this. Psychological stress is reported to be a risk factor for autoimmune diseases, including Graves' disease and rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis, different inflammations, are linked to autoimmune disorders, which are linked to psychological stress. Different types of stress and the length of time that stress is present might also affect the presentation of inflammatory autoimmune disease. There is no known one cause for autoimmunity. Physical and psychological stress has been implicated in the development of autoimmune disease, since numerous animal and human studies demonstrate the effect of sundry stressors on immune function. Also, it's important to understand that according to MedPub, the onset of at least 50% of autoimmune disorders has been attributed to unknown trigger factors. Anytime you see unknown trigger factors, it's a good indication that what they're trying to say is, we don't know, but chances are it's environmental, meaning a toxic relationship, narcissistic abuse, but websites, doctors aren't going to define that for you. You have to define that. I'm going to share with you my own personal experience. When I was 21, after I had gotten out of the dysfunctional, toxic household that I was brought up in my early 20s, I developed panic attacks. They were sudden. I had no idea where they came from, nor did the doctors that I saw. I remember my first panic attack, I was in a movie theater on a date, enjoying the company of a amazing young lady at the time. In the movie theater, hands started getting sweaty all of a sudden, heat waves going up and down my arms, my throat closed up, I felt like I was going to suffocate, I couldn't swallow, tunnel vision, the theater started getting darker and darker. I bolted, went to the popcorn stand and said, call 911, I'm dying. They called 911, ambulance showed up, threw me in the back of the ambulance, pricked my finger with all sorts of stuff, everything there, they're like, okay, everything seems normal, you're all right, got me to the ER, started poking holes in me, IVs, this and that, and all the tests came back negative. The ER doctor, and then I followed up with my other doctor, they tried their best to explain to me panic attacks and anxiety without being able to tell me the cause, because that's not the doctor's responsibility, because they don't know. All the doctor was there to do was to tell me what anxiety and panic attacks are, but he's not a counselor, he's not a therapist, he's not going to start getting into, well, Kevin, tell me about your stepfather and your mother. And is your father in your life? Are you being emotionally, mentally abused, manipulated, gaslit, and betrayed? No, they're not going to do that. This is what I'm here to tell you. But he did explain to me panic attacks and how it affects the body. The good news is I was able to allow myself through dietary changes, lifestyle changes, and also a great distance between me and the household that I lived in. And by the way, back then there wasn't social media, there wasn't telephones, cell phones, and stuff like that. So it wasn't as hard to disconnect as it is today. Today, you have a more difficult time disconnecting from toxic relationships because you're on leashes with your social media, your telephones, email. They're like all electronic leashes. These are the first things that need to go when you go no contact, by the way. You have to cut all those chains. I digress. The next issue, medical issue that I dealt with was after I left the dysfunctional toxic situation in California and came to the Midwest. This was about 5 years ago. I was starting the Royal We. After I got away, came to the Midwest, I started to develop inflammation, an indication of the arthritis, the possibility of an onset of autoimmune. I didn't get that far, fortunately, but inflammation was something I was dealing with, and I didn't know why. And I went and was saw by the doctors, and they couldn't give me an answer as to why. Also, they wanted me to see rheumatologists and this and that, and I started to, but then they wanted to introduce medications. I'm like, nah, I'll follow the list of dietary changes. Good news for me is I was able to, again, manage these things through dietary change, but the most important thing I did was to detach from the toxic environment. So what do my illnesses and diseases that I've experienced have in common? They were immediately after I got out of a toxic environment. It teaches me that it was environmental. The narcissistic abuse manifested in illness and disease as part of my healing journey. The good news is that these things, and this is where I want to give you hope, it's possible to reverse these illnesses and diseases. You don't have to rely on medication alone. Now, I'm not telling you to stop medication. Go no contact. Break the trauma bonds. Through dietary change, through exercise, through refocusing your life, it's possible to not only break the trauma bonds, but also to reverse the illness and diseases caused by narcissistic abuse.
That I get, and after a lot of therapy, is that I truly believe some of us were born into families that we are actually meant to remove ourselves from. When we think about our relationships with our relatives, I think we all have that idea that these are relationships that have to remain intact. No matter how they treat you, no matter how much they affect your mental health, it's like, nope, non-negotiable. This is your family. They are permanently to remain in your life forever, no matter how they affect you. And I think in our society, it's shamed to not want a relationship with your family or to not get along with your family. I think we all know that archetype of like the distant family member who never comes around and moved across the country, and it's like you've seen them 3 times in your whole life. And typically the rest of the family talks really bad about that person. And you as a kid, you don't know why they're keeping their distance from everyone, and you start to side-eye them too until you get older and you completely understand why they don't come. You all do, and you know what I'm talking about. If you get around your family and you immediately like regress as a person, like you become a shell of who you really are, your personality disappears, you start talking in a monotone voice, you feel so drained, you feel scared for no reason, it's probably time to examine that relationship dynamic. And if this sounds like your situation, I'll just tell you what my therapist told me, which is that she's never seen anyone be able to heal around the same people who traumatized them.
Tears, it went into screaming, it just went into the same dysfunctional, harmful crap that it's always been. And it's been that way our entire adult life. And I have not cut her off. I've not put her out of my life. It's so hard for me, just the idea of letting go of, this is my sister. She's my sister. I just want to have a sister. You know, I just want to have a relationship. I want to have a family. And it's just, but I can't do it because I can't have someone treating me this way. And I also can't keep asking the people in my life that I love to treat me like a human being, just treat me like a person. It's so dehumanizing to pour your heart out and just say, look, you're hurting me. Please stop this. You're hurting me. I love you and I want to have a relationship, but you're hurting me. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy for wanting you to treat me like a person. But now it's not like about her. It's about me, and it's about me standing up and saying that I care about myself and I love myself enough to know that when someone is harming me, I have to put them out of my life. I have to do that. That's my journey. It's my choice. It's my responsibility. But it's just so hard. But I just feel like once and for all, I just have to stand up for myself. But it's so hard.
Some of those family members who don't come around anymore don't come around because when they do come around, they don't feel like family. They're not treated like family. Family don't make them feel like family. And that's sad. When you go around your own family and they don't treat you like family, when they come around family, they feel like the outcast, the black sheep, the scapegoat. When they come around family, they only feel like they're being tolerated. When they come around family, they feel like their family are the main ones who scrutinize them.
Because for so long, these same women talked down on me and wanted me to think less of myself, right? I told y'all, one sister said, Dadisha, I swear to God, I didn't know you was this smart. Meaning that she thought that I was dumb this whole time. That's, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not making these things up. I just finally see that you never really liked me. And that's the reason why we even having this friction right now. You never liked me. And now you're upset because I realize you never liked me. And I'm okay with you never liking me. I don't care. I got out of people pleasing and trying to get my family to see me. And I stepped into my purpose and I used my very story to help other women get free from the same thing that I was suffering with for so long. And I'll be doggone that even if you stay away, they will find a way to try to bully you and distract you. And I wanted to end my boot camp yesterday because I was so triggered. And I was triggered because I've been on my side. I block them so that they won't. People want to get to the other side. Like, I'm causing friction because I've outgrown the gossiping on the phone to each other just to be around each other the next day. I've outgrown the throwing a little slick, shady remarks and then still acting like we cool. Like, I've outgrown the dysfunction. And they are mad at me because I don't want to function in dysfunction like the rest of them. I don't think that my siblings are bad people. I say this all the time. I don't think they're bad people. I think that they are broken people. Right? But the crazy thing is, and I'm going to end the video with this. The crazy thing is my brother walked away from his family and stayed and kept himself at a distance a long time ago. But when I do it, I get bullied. But when he do it, it's like they know who to try. My brother kept his kids away from us because he didn't want them to be like us. I totally understand, and he was not wrong. And did they come out better? 100%. Came out 100 times better. The proof is in the pudding, right? But when I do the same thing, I'm doing too much. But it's not that I'm doing too much. It's because I had operated in dysfunction with them for so long that now I'm the villain. And I'm cool with being the villain. Whatever you need to make up in your head to make it seem like I'm the problem, do it. I'm no longer in the business of trying to prove myself to you. I'm no longer in the business of wanting you to love me and see me. I do not care. That just because you are related to somebody, that does not make them family. I do wish you the best. And whatever story you need to tell the internet, whatever story you need to tell the people around you, do it.
Trying to be understanding and patient and wait for my turn and not trying to ruffle any feathers. That got me nowhere. Being the nice girl, being the humble girl, that's a scam. Fuck that shit.
Suddenly treat you as if you are doing something wrong to them. If you decide that you don't want to talk to them anymore, if you decide to cut them off, they will look at you as if you have done something wrong. They will often use spiritual manipulation to try to get you to continue to tolerate their disrespect and bad behavior. I say spiritual manipulation because a lot of people, especially for myself being a woman of faith, you have people that try to use the word of God against you. They like to throw up the scripture about forgiveness and about, giving people grace and all of that. But what they don't understand is that forgiveness does not mean that you continue to tolerate disrespect.
Go open your journal and write about it or put it in your phone notepad. They've lost access to your emotional world. You stay in your own power when you're quiet and confident, when you keep your nervous system regulated. No response is a response.
And says something to you about me, even if it's negative, I might tell you believe them. Because what did they do to get me to that point? I am absolutely a villain in some people's stories, but people's minds and memories are selective, and they just start to where I became the villain. And I have no qualms about that. I can absolutely be very comfortable being the villain in your story, because I know myself well enough to know I will never wake up and intentionally want to hurt you out of the blue. And even when you hurt me, I will never want to hurt you back. But you best believe I will stand my ground. You will no longer have access to me. And if I come off as cruel, if I come off as a villain, so be it.
She doesn't need anyone. She doesn't need to control anything. So when she's in a relationship or she's dating a guy, she's not trying to make him act right. She sits back, she observes, and if you're not living up to her standards, bye-bye. She lives like this because she's detached. She knows that all the things that she is deserving of will come to her with ease. Whereas the nice girl people pleaser constantly lives in this place of inferiority, insecurity, and fear. She feels like she has to prove herself to everybody else always, but the bitch is so confident and secure in herself and what she thinks of herself that why does she need to prove anything to anyone? The bitch is also non-reactive, like, oh, you're talking about me? Okay, and because her mindset is, why the hell should I take the time out of my day to try and think of a comeback to then get a mad reaction out of you? In fact, me sitting here in silence, letting you make a fool of yourself while you're literally beefing with yourself, trying to get a reaction out of me, which is never going to work, is comeback enough.
Involved. Number 5, slamming the door is not abandonment, it's alignment. And our pulling away from certain relationships isn't abandonment either. It's returning to ourselves. It's finally deciding that we matter and that if we aren't loved for who we are, we'd rather not be around that person. The fact is that when you leave behind someone who abused your empathy, you're not rejecting them and just leaving them to twist in the wind. You're reclaiming your time, your mind, your space, your soul, and your energy. The most important thing you can do for your life, for yourself, and for everyone you know is to protect your energy. So if a relationship is draining your energy, there's something wrong there. And remember, pulling away from someone or slamming the door isn't cowardice. It's a declaration. I am no longer available for disrespect. And I am no longer showing up to places where I have to shrink myself to be accepted. The truth is, you're not too much. You've just been around people who don't care about you enough. And if you've slammed a door recently, or if you feel one creaking shut, let it close. Good riddance.
This is going to upset some people because it upset me when I heard it, but people who are not treating you well are not going to treat you better if you work harder. You shouldn't have to work for somebody's respect, and you don't earn being treated well. You excuse yourself from situations where you're not.
You don't understand the behavior because you would never do it. Came a little bit closer if you didn't hear me back there. You don't understand the behavior because you would never do it.
Goes around, comes around, they will reap everything that they have sown. We can't think that anyone, including siblings, can be toxic, can be jealous, can be hateful, and that they will never ever have to be accountable for that. There's something very, very unhealthy going on with them. The passive-aggressive behaviors, the psychological abuse, the bullying, the triangulating relationships, the mobbing and the stalking, the continual lashing out and purposely, intentionally trying to hurt the other sibling. This is not healthy. This is not healthy. And so when we really take a good look at it, we can understand that we can't change them. We can't necessarily stop them. We can't fix them. But what we can do is we could switch the focus off of them. We can release today their toxicity.
I am no longer available to things and people that make me feel like shit.
With boundaries, you have to determine how much interaction with this person can I handle at this stage in my journey. Because when you're dealing with a narc, don't try to change him. Don't try to change him. Don't try to tell him. Don't try to confront him. The best way to handle a narcissist is when you see their behavior, it kind of floats through. It doesn't penetrate your state of mind, your feelings, your emotions, right? That's the ideal place. Most of us can't handle that, especially when it's a family member. It's too much. So you have to, at the stage you're at now, over time you might be able to, but for some people they have to go dark for a season. Like I can't be around it.
Sibling bullying and abuse cause real trauma. Sibling abuse is the most common but least reported abuse in the family. Prevalence is higher than spousal or child abuse combined, with consequences well into adulthood similar to parent-child abuse. Up to 80% of youth experience some form of sibling maltreatment, yet it's been called the forgotten abuse. These credible resources on the percent of siblings who are estranged from at least one or more siblings, it's anywhere from 41% to 50% within the United States alone.
This speech is my recital. I think it's very vital to rock around. That's right. On time. It's tricky. It's right. Here we go. It's tricky to rock around. To rock around. That's right. On time. It's tricky. Tricky. I met this little girlie. Her hair was kind of curly. Went to her house and bust her out. I had to leave real early.
Let's normalize cutting people the off regardless of how we're related. Just because you're my cousin doesn't mean you get to do wrong shit to me and I'm just supposed to forgive you. You did what you did, I see you for who you are, and now you gotta get away from me.
why it is so important. Okay, the idea of going no contact, this is about your freedom and about your safety. It is not about punishment. It is not about hurting the other person. It's not about limiting them. It is about you getting free and being able to live free from that toxicity.
No one's going to tell you this, but growth hurts. Becoming the best version of yourself comes with a lot of goodbyes. Sadly, the only way that some people will learn to appreciate you is to lose you. So stop surrounding yourself with toxic people because you're lonely. It's really uncomfortable, but you need it to grow. The pain that you feel today will be the power that you'll have tomorrow.
Unfortunately, I do enjoy being meaner to someone who is mean to me first. And people might say, be the bigger person. No, thank you. They can be the bigger person. And in fact, they are the bigger person. And I don't feel bad about it. A lot of times they try to make themselves the victim, but they were mean to me first, so they deserved it. And I might feel a little bit of guilt later on, but in the moment, I don't, and it feels great. No regrets.
I'm on a diet called Healthy People Diet. I don't give a shit. If you're good, you taste good, you're amazing. If you're bad for my energy, if you're bad for me, you're out of my life. As you grow older and you are more confident and you know exactly who you are, you're like a tree that sheds its leaves. A lot of people fall off, and it's completely fine. I'd rather have a small circle because I'm all about quality, not quantity, and I love that.
You think a bad day is gonna stop me? Ha! You think a bad day's gonna stop me? Ha! I eat bad